Welcome to our February 2022 Marana Insights. I'm so glad that you are here. My name is Amanda Wiggins. I'm the president of the Marana Chamber of Commerce. This is one of my favorite programs that we offer to the community, giving updates from community leaders on different programs that are really important to all of us and thinking about collaboration and knowledge of what's happening in our community. So thank you for taking the time this morning to be a part of it. And thank you to all of our speakers who have dedicated some of their morning today to be here with us. We have the chat box that you can put questions in during the presentations today, as well as we will have a question and answer session following each of the presentations. So that will be a time that you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask your question there. So again, the chat box, please utilize so you don't forget your questions during the presentations, and then we'll have an open Q&A time following the speakers today. The agenda will be in the chat box as well. And so with that, again, welcome and thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce our incredible moderator, Jenny Huffman, who's the owner of Imagine Realty Services. So Jenny, please take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. So great to see everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. So our first speaker is Jane Fairall, Town of Marana's attorney, just giving us a town update. So take it away, Jane.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I was here about a year ago, and so it's nice to be back. I do have a short PowerPoint presentation, so I'm going to try to share my screen here and hopefully that you can see it. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Good. So the town legal department, some of you know us. We've done some presentations at various boards and committees that you might be a part of, but this is the staff that we have. We have 5 attorneys, although one of them, Rachel Sass, is currently on maternity leave, so we're working a little shorthanded at the moment. And we have 3 staff members who assist us, and we are recruiting right now for a senior legal assistant position, which is a new position for the town. So if any of you know of someone that might be good at that job or interested in that job, please have them give us a call, give me a call, or go to our webpage. We've got the job posted online. So we're excited to bring someone on in that role. It's essentially like a paralegal position, but because we are not requiring a paralegal degree or certification, we've called it a senior legal assistant. But so that's my pitch. If you know somebody, please direct them to us, because we'd like to get somebody good on board. We have 2 divisions that impact citizens. We have a civil division and a criminal prosecution division. The civil division advises the town and its departments on legal issues. We, sit at the council meetings on the dais or the planning commission, and just work with all of our departments on any legal issues that come up. And that I would also represent the town in any legal proceedings in court. Currently, we have, for example, we're involved in some litigation regarding a public records request that came in, and we are representing the town on that. We also act as a liaison with outside counsel for lawsuits that our insurance company hires outside counsel to represent us on. Myself and the deputy town attorney, Libby Shelton, and David Udall, the assistant town attorney, are the 3 civil attorneys that we handle those issues. And then we also prosecute all misdemeanor offenses committed within the town here at our Marana Municipal Court. And then also any appeals would go to Pima County Superior Court and then potentially onto the Court of Appeals or the Arizona Supreme Court. Luke Fisher, who is our senior assistant town attorney, he is officially the town prosecutor as well, so he runs that division. And then Rachel, when she's back from maternity leave, is the other person that assists with that. We there on on the screen is the town's or the legal department's mission and vision statement. This is something that we've worked on over the past 6 months to put together, and I'm pretty proud of. It's hard to, probably many of you know, when you're trying to come up with a mission and vision statement for your businesses, kind of hard to just distill it into just a few words. But we were excited to do this. And I also want to give props to our graphic design team who put together the design of this with the scales of justice in the background. I like the way that came out. But to talk about a couple of things that are mentioned here, are two of our big issues that we need to provide for the town is we need to achieve justice, which is primarily with regard to the criminal side of things. And we also work really hard to proactively protect the town. So I was just going to talk about those things a little bit. With the justice side of things and the prosecution, COVID presented a really big challenge for us because unfortunately people didn't stop committing crimes during the pandemic, but we had to find new ways to make sure that we were upholding everyone's rights and keeping the town safe. As many of you probably know, for a couple of months, we were completely remote at the town from about mid-March of 2020 to mid-May of 2020. And then after that, we were in a hybrid schedule till probably the beginning of 2021, spending some time in the office and some time out. And that like I said, it presented a really big challenge to both the prosecutor's office and to the Marana Municipal Court of how to keep things moving, because you can't just not have court, that doesn't work. And in fact, even as the town of Marana itself moved more to just normalcy in terms of our schedules and those things, the court has been under continued restrictions for COVID that are imposed by the Supreme Court, by the administrative office of the courts. For example, if you come down here, you don't have to wear a mask in the town hall, but you do have to wear one in court because that's governed by Supreme Court rules. So we had to find ways to continue to honor victims' rights, to make sure that we're honoring defendants' rights, to have speedy disposition of their cases, to get copies of their police reports, of the body-worn cameras, and to get a fair trial if that's what they chose to do. So we worked hard with the court to find a way to balance those issues with COVID precautions. One of the things that became very important to us is that we have a legal case tracker app that was actually developed by the town's technology service department in conjunction with our office.
Jane, you got muted.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
In conjunction was the last we heard.
Okay, so the legal case tracker app was developed by our tech services department in conjunction with the legal department. And we actually developed that prior to COVID, but it really became important during COVID because what it does is it allows a framework for the whole prosecution team to be looking in the same quote unquote file because everything is electronic and digital. And so I didn't have anything to do with this. This was the other staff in our office. I used to be a prosecutor, so I have gone through that, not through COVID, but in any event, they could track communication with people on cases, whether that's a victim or a witness. They can detail upcoming court dates and that sort of thing. And so it became even more important during COVID times where everyone could be working on the same electronic file. We also put all case reports, citations, any sort of correspondence from the court goes into that e-file that we've created. One of the other things that became even more important with COVID is that the police department uses something called evidence.com, for all the body worn cameras and photos that they might take in a case. And so we were able to use that. It's all online. It didn't have to be, personal interaction in order to get all those things and then to disclose them to the defendants. With the videos, we can simply send a link to the defendant or to the defendant's attorney that allows them to access the evidence in their case. We also changed kind of the way that most of that had to do with how the prosecutor's office itself works. But the court also had to change the way that the court does business, and we were a part of that. And for uncontested court hearings, arraignments, which is, the first hearing that a defendant would have on a case where they find out what the charges against them are, or a pretrial where they come in and learn what maybe their plea offer is, get copies of police reports, or decide whether they want to have a trial or some other hearing. People had the option to either call in or appear in person. Whereas before you would always, for the most part, have to come in person. We changed that up and allowed people to call in. We expanded the ability for defendants to enter into guilty pleas and long distance changes of plea through the mail. That was something that was in place prior to COVID, but we expanded the ability to do it even further to try to resolve cases without people having to come into court. All motions, which you would have normally had to, we're right here in the building, but walk over to the courthouse and file them in person. The court allowed us to do that by email. The court also limited the number of people in court at any one time with like staggered court hearings. Previously, for example, Wednesday morning is a very busy time at the court. It would be 9 a.m. and there'd be 30 people scheduled at 9 a.m. And you just work your way through them. It can take a while, but get everyone there at once, and the prosecutor and the judge just work through people, getting them whatever it is that's going to happen with their case. And we had to really change the way we did that and just have one or two defendants there at a time. And obviously that meant we had to have more days where we had people in court spread out over a longer period of time in the morning and the afternoon, but just to help with social distancing. We were also able to do some evidentiary hearings and bench trials over Zoom rather than in person. And that it felt a little odd in the beginning, I think, for our prosecutors and for the court, but I think that it turned out to be not bad. It worked out fine. And we've even done some more recently with when we've had the Omicron surge, or when somebody's been exposed to COVID but is still feeling fine and able to do a hearing. We've done it that way. One of the other things that we've done and we've continued to do even now is that jury trials have moved from the smaller court building and are being held in the council chambers right now, since it's a much larger room and we can spread people out more. In particular, in jury selection, when you've got a group of people there to get down to the 6 that will serve on the jury. Before, you're kind of packed into the jury box and into the audience, and so the council chambers allows us to spread out a little bit more. And we are still doing that to this day, so I'm not sure. I think it will be kind of up to the Supreme Court when they change their rules for the judge of when that might change. So I just wanted to highlight some of those things that we've continued to do. I think in some places they've just have kind of come to a halt in being able to prosecute cases and deal with the cases, and especially in a municipal court where you have a high volume, that would just create such a backlog, and it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the town, for the citizens, the victims, the defendants. And so we've worked really hard to keep it going and achieve our vision of achieving justice. The other area that I just wanted to touch on lightly had to do with the other piece of that vision statement about proactively protecting the town. And that's something that we really have worked on it with our staff, our attorney staff. A lot of the time, attorneys tend to be reactive. Something happens and you think, oh my gosh, we need to prevent that from happening again, which is, part of the job. But I think that our team we really strive to engage proactively with our client departments to prevent bad things from happening to the town, to prevent risk to the town. And I just wanted to kind of discuss a few examples of how we do that with personnel issues. When we have an employee that might have gotten off track on something, we are involved from the outset with the department that has the employee, with the human resources department, to try to look at all the facts, all the issues that are going on, and to resolve the issue, hopefully for the best for everyone, to hopefully if there's some issues with communication, or if there's just a work improvement plan that maybe this employee could go on and do and resolve any issues. So that's obviously the goal, is to try to resolve the issue so that the employee can continue at the town. But if that's not possible, then we are involved at the very beginning to ensure that we're creating a clear, defensible foundation for discipline for that employee. If someday you might end up with, unfortunately, a termination, which happens from time to time. And I think that up to this point, knock on wood, we've had very few of those. And the ones that we have had have either not been contested in litigation, or we've prevailed in litigation. So we've had a pretty successful track record of just being involved from the outset to prevent problems later on. At the legal department, we draft, we write most of the town's internal policies, such as our personnel policies, such as our administrative directives. And we do that to make sure that we're reducing risk associated with all of those issues that are addressed by personnel policies and by administrative directives. And with the administrative directives, we have a number related to safety, related to technology services, related to things that the town clerk's office does, such as public records requests, related to claims management, all of those things. So we work to write those to make sure that they're providing what additional protection to the town. Our attorneys also actively participate on the special events planning committee. As we have like our signature events, our tree lighting, our Founders Day, and our Fall Festival are the signature events, but then we also have a number of smaller events. But the attorneys participate actively on those so that we can help, highlight what might be risks associated with the activities. The people who do special events they are happy people, and they have great jobs, and they get to think of all the fun things that we can do at these events. And then we're the ones sitting there going, well, but mutton busting is kind of dangerous. So we have to make sure that we understand the risks that we're taking on by having mutton busting at our fall festival. And as many of you know, we have had it for many years, but so it's not like we say, no, you can't do that. That's not our decision. But we work with the staff and make sure that we're mitigating whatever risks that we can with insurance, with releases, and having professionals out there helping with the mutton busting and that sort of thing. We are also involved from the beginning at the table on all high priority projects. And the Marana Police Facility construction was a good example of I was the attorney that was involved with that just from the very beginning of working through all the issues and making sure that we're addressing anything that needs to be addressed. From procurement issues to property rights, all of those things. And the multi-generational community center that we're going to be building is another one where we will be part of that team that is working on that from the start. And just a couple more things, just to let you know what we do. We act as a police legal advisor, meaning that, it's basically 24/7, 365, since it's a continuous operation, where the police can call us in the middle of the night when they've got something going on that they need help with. Deputy Town Attorney Libby Shelton is the main police legal advisor for the town, although the rest of us will assist as well. It involves doing training for all of our new and lateral officers. We provide regular legal updates regarding new developments in the law. There's always something new going on with search and seizure. There's issues related to homelessness, things like that we just, as case law is updated and comes out, we will provide regular updates to the police department. We also do weekly office hours over at the police department, where one of the attorneys will be over there every Wednesday afternoon, just to allow for officers who maybe wouldn't pick up the phone or shoot an email to just walk in and talk to us, and ask us questions and make sure that we're all staying on the straight and narrow. It also involves when we have an unfortunate incident, like an officer involved shooting, where one of the attorneys, again, usually Libby, will go out to the scene and walk through the scene with the IA team that's doing the internal investigation into what happened. We also just provide regular trainings for our client departments, and there's a few examples there. We've done recently elections law training and open meeting and public records law for our town clerk's office. We've done training with the airport staff regarding various FAA requirements. And we've done some training for all of our staff related to First Amendment auditors, which I don't know if you all know what that is, but there's a group of people that will go into government offices basically and see, and they film us, and they try to make sure that we're not violating their First Amendment rights. And so for the most part, if they're in a public area where the public's allowed to be, they can be there, they can film us, and we need to, it can be uncomfortable for staff, but that's training that we've provided to kind of give advice if that happens, what to do in that situation. So those are, we do lots of training all the time, but those are just three of the most recent examples of what we've done. So in conclusion, we try to do all of these things that we're talking about to achieve justice, to proactively protect the town with the goals of a safe, sustainable community, a high quality of life, not just now, but planning for the future of Marana. And that's all I have as far as my presentation goes. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I did not see any other comments or questions there, Jane. Any other thing you'd like to, let me see, I'm trying to think. If anybody wants to get more information, is there a link that we can add for you guys to get more information, how to participate, if you need volunteers, etc.?
Sure. I mean, you can go to the town's website, and we have a listing of each of the departments. So there's a drop-down menu for the departments, and the legal department obviously is listed there. So you could contact us through there. And any questions, any issues, we're pretty open. Give us a call.
Awesome. Awesome.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is, oh, there's, hang on. Hey. I'm sorry? Did the meeting stop for you? No, it's continuing, but we lost.
Jane,
hi,
can you hear me? I have a question for you.
Yes.
No, it seems like it was all about just catching up and automating everything so that it would be much smoother, the whole transitions that you were talking about. Is that something that was already happening in the rest of the country that you saw somewhere, or that you all thought it was a good idea to do? How did that come about?
Okay, so our next
I think that it was, I'm not aware of seeing it in a wide scale across the country. I think that we had already developed our legal case tracker app. And so we were already using that as trying to move away from paper files to kind of an electronic file that everyone could use that way. And that just sped it up for us to be able to do that. And I think it was more just our court and our prosecutor's office thinking, we can't just grind everything to a halt. And that's mostly what we were seeing, was just other courts delaying things and not dealing with cases. And that's not what we wanted to do. So we just kind of, it evolved, and we kept adding new pieces to that mix of things that I listed there to keep everything moving. So I think other courts were doing some of that or all of that, but I think it wasn't kind of widespread. It wasn't something we saw others doing. We just wanted to do ourselves.
So let me ask you this: it looks like it streamlines. It looks like it's beneficial in every area. Have you guys? I'm not sure that you can advertise it or provide the idea or the concept to everywhere that has courts, obviously, like towns and cities like that. Have you guys looked at that? Is that even a possibility, or are they very much doing their own thing and they wouldn't want to hear what you guys are doing, type of thing?
Yeah, I think most do their own thing, and it depends on what their particular Supreme Court, their administrative offices are telling them to do. To a certain degree, and every state's a little bit different. And I think there are things that will maintain even as the pandemic passes, with the electronic file. That just makes sense. The evidence.com, being able to download videos and photos from online, and being able to email police reports, disclosure, instead of dealing with paper, all of those things, I think we'll continue to maintain the expanded use of mail-in guilty pleas or long distance change of pleas. But I think the goal really is to get back to in-person as much as possible, because that's kind of been the standard for American justice, is that you have a right to confront and cross-examine in person. So I think the goal would be to get back to actually having court hearings, particularly contested hearings, not on Zoom, but in person. But some of those other things I just mentioned, those, like, you're right, those are just efficiencies that I think we should all be working towards. And I believe that, our prosecutor's office is active in the Arizona Prosecuting Attorneys Advisory Council. So that's a place where we can kind of talk about what we've done and what's worked for us. And I also believe that our judge, Judge McDonald, is active with other courts in the state, and we'll have an opportunity to share those things. So hopefully, I think everybody kind of does their own thing, but hopefully if we've had some success, we can pass that along and see if somebody wants to take it on too.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for your comments. It seems a theme that a lot of places have been added efficiencies that could have been done electronically for a long time.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for all your help and information. So, and we will add your link there for the town website. And looks like we have Tammy back. And so next up, we are going to go to Jeremy for his presentation. And sorry, Jeremy, did you have a PowerPoint that we?
I do. I have a little brief one if I can share my screen.
Okay. Let's see.
See if everybody can see that.
Looks great. Thanks, Jeremy.
Well, first of all, thank you for Amanda and Tammy for the offer to presentate to you guys. And give a little bit of the background of MTC and the facility itself. Obviously, the prison's operated by MTC, which I work for, which is a private prison. Management Training Corporation is under contract with the state of Arizona to operate the facility under their guidelines. So I'll start with a little bit of history on MTC itself, but our core business itself is obviously corrections, education training. We operate our own medical within our facilities, economics and social development, primarily helping those people in communities, give them traits, education, vocational stuff to make them employable and succeed in life, and not recommit, come back to prison, reducing recidivism, things like that. So a little bit of history. MTC was founded in 1981. Originally started in operating Job Corps centers. If any of you guys are familiar with Job Corps and the centers throughout the nation that provide valuable academic and job stuff to less fortunate young adults, anywhere from 16 to 26 years old, providing them maybe ones that are lack of education or vocational traits like HVAC, and a lot of our Job Corps centers do different things depending on the location throughout the nation. Some of them have seamanship programs, a lot of nursing, lineman programs, HVAC, security oriented, wide variety. So we currently operate 23 Job Corps centers throughout the nation, which up to about 14,000 students throughout the nation right now, under contract with the federal government. So in 1987, MTC took that same philosophy into the prison system to give those same type of traits and counseling, cognitive behaviors, educational courses, things like that, to make every effort to reduce recidivism and provide the residents of the facilities the tools to not recommit, come back to prison and fall back into the things that got them there in the first place, and make them better people for their families and the communities themselves. So we currently operate 28 correctional facilities throughout the nation and one internationally in the UK. And we operate parole and probation in the UK as well, in Australia. So we're just recently trying to get into the community release center side of it. So, giving them jobs while they're still finishing up the ends of their sentences or things like that while they're on parole or probation, helping them find jobs and continuing with treatment. A big push right now is mental health and providing substance abuse treatment and mental health to those going back into the populations. So a little bit about the facility. The Arizona State Prison-Marana is the first private prison in the state of Arizona. We built it in 1994. Haven't been operating it since for the state of Arizona. Was originally built to house male and female. It was male DUI and then female offenders. We have two separate buildings when it was originally built for that. Since then, about 1997, it had revolved into an all-male facility itself, with a lot of drug offenses, things like that. But we currently house up to 500 adult males. All non-violent offenses. We cannot house anybody who has any charges for assault, rape, any sex offenders, any crimes that they may have used a weapon involved to commit their crimes, things like that. So it's primarily drug offenses that we house here, inmates who need rehabilitation and programming, things like that, because that's our mission and our goal. So the Department of Corrections houses, they prioritize those that need that type of treatment for us to be able to provide those tools to them while they're incarcerated. But like I said, less than 5 years on their sentence. Primarily, the average length of stay is just over a year. It's about 380 days. That's about the average length of stay in the facility. Some of the programs that we offer at the facility are revolve around education, life skills, religion, substance abuse, therapy, vocational. An example of some of the education classes that we offer are obviously general education development, GED, adult basic education. One of our most successful programming things is GED, giving them the GEDs while they're incarcerated, equivalent to their high school diplomas. A lot of guys don't have that. It's really amazing to see anywhere from an 18-year-old to a 70-plus-year-old getting their GED. It's actually a significant accomplishment for a lot of people while they're incarcerated. In addition to that, we do English and Spanish, both as second language courses while they're incarcerated. We have partnerships with Rio Salado Community College and Adams State University, so they can get their further their education through their associates or bachelors, depending on wherever they're at. We recently have one of our first college graduates at the facility, so trying to figure out a time to recognize them. We have GED graduations and things. Some things have been a lot different with COVID and allowing families to come in and things like that. So it's been a challenge. But some of the life skills we provide are Cage Your Age, choice and change, some cultural diversity training for the offenders. We do financial peace, inside out dads for parenting, things like that. Provide all religious faiths, through volunteers. We have several volunteers who come into facilities in the evenings and over the weekends that provide faith-based classes and services to the population. Are treatment oriented. We do intense and moderate treatment. We are licensed through the Arizona Behavioral Health and have licensed substance abuse counselors who deliver our treatment classes to the offenders, which are mandatory if they come into the system with some type of substance abuse or drug-related crimes. We do Narcotics Anonymous, relapse prevention, a lot of things along with the substance abuse treatment counseling too. Some of the therapy-oriented classes are cognitive thinking, moral recognition, victim impacts, grief management, things like that on the therapy side. And then vocational classes, we do computer applications, which a lot of them aren't familiar with the usage of computers. And in today's society, it's important that you're current with a lot of the electronic technology and things like that. So we try to help them with that. And then we have a National Construction Corps class that they can get certifications through OSHA on safety and construction, various things like welding, electrical, plumbing, things that are needed in the community for to help them find jobs. We're recently starting up a ServSafe vocational one as well for hospitality and restaurants certifications that they can take away. So some of the certifications that the facility has that are above and beyond the contract with the Arizona Department of Corrections are, we have federal Department of Justice certifications with the American Correctional Association, which are higher standards than most of the states operate under. It's a pretty significant process and audit that we have to show proof of practice in a lot of the key areas like restrictive housing, the Prison Rape Elimination Act, medical services, things like that. So proud to say that we've been certified since 2005 with that. It's an every 3-year reaccreditation that we go through. It's a pretty intense audit that the American Correctional Association comes in and actually sends auditors into the facility for about a week, going through documentation and observing practices and stuff. In addition to that, the Prison Rape Elimination Act is another one through the Department of Justice, which is a big push in the prison system to eliminate sexual abuse, sexual harassment, protection for LGBTQ, transgender offenders that come into the prison. So we were actually the first facility in the state of Arizona to become accredited when that became law in 2014, that prisons had to seek that accreditation. So proud to say that between both the public and privately operated facilities in Arizona, we were the first one to accomplish that and have maintained that since. National Commission on Correctional Healthcare is a higher standard on healthcare treatment and services provided to the population. So a pretty pretty thorough audit as well to ensure that we're providing the proper services and the best services we can to the population while they're incarcerated. So, since 1994, we continue our community involvement. That's one of the biggest things that MTC believes in also, is being involved in the community and helping the local community in various things through donations, community service hours. We provide the workforce for the town of Marana is one of our largest interagency agreements that we have. We, when we're up full and running, we provide up to 40 plus offenders to the town of Marana every day to work in various locations. If you live here locally, you may have seen them on the roadway, picking up trash, or in the medians, doing various things. They work at the wastewater treatment plant, at the airport, doing basic parks and rec, doing basic construction, janitorial, landscape things. Also, the town of Oro Valley picks up a small group of inmates that does the same thing in their local community. Evergreen Military Affairs out here, we provide a couple inmates for them as well. And then we have 3 different contracts with various Arizona correctional industry contracts or with local businesses. The 3 that we provide now are Eastern Style Building Modulars off Marana Road, ESB, LP Steel, which is in Stayfield, just off of Interstate 8, and then Ballard Truss Construction Company, framing trusses and stuff. And these companies actually will hire them upon release from custody as well. So they go out with the job in the trades. Some of our significant accomplishments last year, 2021, where we do fundraisers throughout the year for the residents to be able to buy things through the store or fast food or things like that. We do up to 5 of them a year, and we'll try to key them to nonprofit organizations. The biggest one we work with is the Marana Community Food Bank. We donate a lot of money to them throughout the year and stuff. But last year, the residents donated over $12,000 in money to local nonprofit organizations. Another one that we've recently partnershiped with is Arizona Youth Partnership in the community too, which is working towards youth mental health and suicide prevention, things like that. So we're working a relationship with them to help improve mental health in the community as well. We donated over 50 bags of used clothing, the staff did, from the facility last year to Gospel Rescue Mission and some various homeless shelters throughout the community. Last year alone, over 700 various certificates were issued for completion of programs to the residents in the facility, which is pretty significant. So since COVID, our numbers are a lot low. We're only at 50% capacity right now because the reduction of, I guess, arrests and people being put into the jails while they're pending charges, things like that. So it's been a lot slower of movement, and we haven't been really full on, which is good. It's bad for us because we're not able to provide the programming to those that are needed as much, but it's good that we don't have that many people in the prison system. So some of our initiatives for this year are, we're keying around health and fitness for the offenders and both our staff. So this first quarter, we're developing plans around healthy eating habits. So we're trying to change the way that people eat and provide more nutritional meals to the residents and the staff and things. Second quarter will be revolved around fitness. So getting people to be active throughout the day. Third quarter, again, we're going to work on emotional and mental health for both our employees and the residents of the facility, just to help combat the concerns with mental health and stuff. And that's where our partnership with Arizona Youth comes in. They come in and do some volunteer work and resources for our offenders while they're incarcerated on that. And then the last quarter, we're going to concentrate on trying to improve the environment. Cleanliness is important, especially with COVID. We've stepped up a lot of our sanitation requirements and just additional cleaning throughout the facility and monitoring for symptoms, things like that, making the environment safer for everybody, both everybody who comes in the facility. But I think that's really about it. I mean, it's hard to sell a prison. So basically, like, you know, if you guys have any questions on what we do or our mission or anything like that,
I have a question for you. Jeremy, thank you. First of all, thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
My question to you would be, you mentioned, I'm a grief recovery specialist, and for many years I've worked, whether it's mentorship, I used to run foster care homes. I had 20 teenagers, 10 girls, 10 boys. So for the longest time, I've been very focused on helping folks. I was in a family coach at some point, and the idea is to help them think a little differently. As a grief recovery specialist, I've come to find out that a lot of the people have a lot of hurts that they've never processed. And I want to say 99% of humanity does. Certain folks can cope with it. Other folks, unfortunately, find bad choices, you know, to cope with whatever they're dealing with. You mentioned a variety of programs. Do you guys follow the inmates once they leave? Or is there like do you have a recidivism? Do you see a drop or that specific individual? What are the results of all the programs you have? I'm sure they're evidence-based, which is probably a really good thing. Are you seeing some results of it affecting recidivism, and also some stories of young men and that have you know, not only survived but thrived after they left your place?
You know, some of the most, I guess, the significant therapy programs that we offer to change you know, mental state or change their state of mind is the cognitive thinking. And we just this last year started up one called 7 Habits on the Inside, which is a Franklin Covey course as well. So it changes the mentality of how you treat people, recognizing your faults and being able to deal with them, you know, whether it's through grief or the way that you treated your family or things that you did. Unfortunately, the state, we're in the system with the other 10 correctional facilities throughout the state. So they don't track us specifically on recidivism. So I don't know facility specific what our reduction has done, but I do see a significant change in people while they're here. We do track a few people as they're released, and we try to keep that relationship with them. I have a couple ex-residents that we stay in contact with that'll speak on Zooms and stuff on how we help them, you know, comparable to a state operated facility, and the stuff that we do. I think the biggest thing that helps us is we don't treat them as a number. We treat them as people, and we talk to them as such. So being respectful and understanding where they're coming from, and also recognizing it is prison. You know, we have a job to do when it comes to protecting the public and things like that. But you know, we're here to help them, not, you know, make them suffer anymore for being incarcerated. So we try to do our best to treat them like people and be respectful, which is challenging at times because there's got to be that line for security. But we have an acronym that MTC follows that our founder had made, and it's called Bionic. It's Believe It or Not, I Care. So that's all over the place, and being able just to recognize and be empathetic and not, you know, sympathetic, but have empathy for what they're here for and trying to improve their lives. So I wish we could track the recidivism to see what our success rate is. But the Arizona Department of Corrections tracks it as a department as whole. It's not by facility or anything like that. So.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And I appreciate what you do as well. That's pretty awesome.
I appreciate that.
So much, Jeremy. I don't know if Jenny is back on to be able to help moderate, but we can have her help with any questions and take us to the next.
I'm back. It's like, whoo, yeah, I was getting calls from all sorts of people all around me going, do you have internet? I'm like, no. So it was pretty widespread because my whole server went down. So it's finally back up. So do we have any other questions for Jeremy? Anybody?
I do, Jeannie.
Yes, Jose, go ahead.
Thank you. Jeremy, yeah, I second the voice from Jorge. My name is Jose Oliver, as you can tell. Actually, let me see if I can turn on my camera. I don't know if that is the right one. No, I'm looking at this one. I'm sorry. So when I introduce myself, we are on the leadership development, and most of us know that leadership is basically being a good person, right? It starts by being a good citizen to start with. So this is just a short introduction to ask you, how can we help you serve those people who unfortunately made decisions that took them to that particular site, but are certainly, as you described, you are helping them to come back to a good life. How can we participate on helping you achieving that goal?
I think the biggest ways are if anybody's interested in doing volunteer services in the evenings or things like that, for a variety of things, whether it's treatment oriented or a mentorship, or if you have suggested programs that that are evidence-based, that we can bring into the system, or you have experience in, we rely a lot on volunteers in the evenings. We try to reduce idleness. We try to keep them busy, so either they're working or they're in programming of some sort, just to keep them occupied and make their time go by faster. Another thing that would help too, and we've been working with the town of Marana and town of Oro Valley and the other contractors too, is if there's other vocational traits or certifications that we can offer them while they're incarcerated that are good for them when they do get released. If they go out with, example is heavy equipment operator or something like that. If they get that in the contracts, it helps them be employable, find a job and be successful. Some of the jobs that are needed out there, construction oriented, that are never going to go away, are reliable jobs. The other thing is, if you guys can help, like anybody else, finding employees is a challenge right now too. It's, if you guys know anybody looking for a career in criminal justice or a stepping stone into law enforcement, as a correctional officer, you can start at 18 years old, work your way up through various things and go into the program side or stay in the security side. Tuition reimbursement while you're going to school for criminal justice, things like that are offered. So if you guys know of anybody who needs a stable job and that's interesting, corrections is a very interesting field to be in law enforcement, and it's very rewarding too.
Got it. So may you be one point of contact that we can start, offering?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, you can go to our website as well. It's mtctrains.com.
Okay.
And you can bring up any of our facilities throughout the nation. If somebody's looking for a job, say in Texas, or, where we have other facilities as well, throughout the nation. And if you want more information on the different sides of our company through Job Corps, economic social development, or corrections.
Very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Jeremy, may we share your email address with attendees today?
Sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm kind of sorry I missed most of your presentation, but thankfully we've recorded, so I'll be able to go back and see it. So thank you so much, Jeremy. And so our next speaker is Curt Woody, Director of Economic Development and Tourism for the town of Marana, and he's going to give us our economic development updates. So take it away, Curt.
Thank you. Yeah, great presentations this morning. I'm going to load a couple of documents here. Let me get to the first one. Let me know when you see that come up.
We see it.
We see it.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, as you recall, last month we had a pretty robust 2021. The calendar year finished with, I believe, about 1,253 single-family residential permits, which is, I had mentioned last month, another record since pre-Great Recession. Well, 2022 is not disappointing us either. It started off with quite a bang. As you see there, January permits were 198. That's another record as well on an individual month. You can see most of that happened down in South Marana, which includes the Saguaro Bloom and Lazy K area. A lot of these builders we've talked about before are pulling permits and building the homes even before people walk into the door to buy them, because they know you're going to take about 6 months to build, and they'll have a buyer the next weekend or the weekend after that. So they're building what we would call spec, but it's not spec for very long. So these homes are getting absorbed very quickly, as Jenny and everybody else knows in real estate. Let me switch documents here. And let me know. Oh, sorry, I'll get there. It's coming up now. From an overall economic development standpoint, 2021 was very robust as well, especially for the projects that came in the door in the fall of 21. 2022 is starting right off as well, just like the single family residential permits. Last month, we talked about the activity at Tangerine and I-10. There are two major developers, one on the south end of that drawing where it says Fortune 5 e-commerce company. Well, that's Amazon. We all know that. They're going to build a 1.4 million square foot facility, regional distribution facility there. Then I also talked about the parcel just to the north of that by Flint Development out of Kansas City. They're going to build two specs, buildings 1 and 2 there, 500,000 square feet and 400,000 square feet. And they're just recently now have acquired that triangle piece to the north of them with buildings 4 and 5, and those will be in phase 2. So we're going to have about 300 acres of industrial commercial product going on at Tangerine and I-10 in 2022. A lot of these will start construction. 4 and 5 won't start in 2022, but 1 and 2, and then Amazon down to the south there will also start in 2022. So that's the message quickly here in a nutshell. I'm out of land at Tangerine and I-10 to promote for business activity. So now looking at the east side, as we've talked before, and as we get the infrastructure going up Tangerine Road, we can start promoting those properties as well. If you were at the luncheon this month for the workforce development, great panel. And as you can see, we have a significant need for the labor sector out there. And it was neat to see the different panelists and the programs that they have going on currently. But it is a big issue right now, is the labor force. A lot of people are leaving it. So we have to all do our job and our part in producing that labor force for the future. And it starts with K-12 all the way up through our higher education. And that was a great luncheon to attend and hear the programs that they're doing. With that, I'll take any questions.
Anybody
Hey,
have?
Curt.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Curt. So as a new resident of Marana, I do have a question. The intersection of Silver Bell and Ina, it's down to 1 lane. Do you know how long that will be?
I don't, but I can find out for you. I'll contact our transportation department. I know they've got to do a fair amount of work there at that intersection. They're going to do some double lefts at the intersection, widen it out a little bit, and it'll take some time.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Hey, Curt, could you speak to any updates on multifamily housing, since seems like there's a bazillion heading in there?
Sure. Yeah, there's 7 projects in the town right now. 2 of them have started. One over there by Thornydale and Ina behind the Target. That project has started.
Okay.
There's also one just north of the Amazon at Ina and Silver Bell. That has started and broke ground. HSL properties will break ground very soon. We're expecting them to, perhaps that they would have broken ground this week at the Marana Center. It's about 254 units there right across, right adjacent to the Premium Outlet Mall. And then there's about 4 others that will be breaking ground in 2022. So there's quite a bit of multifamily happening.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
I don't know if you'll have the answer to this, but one of the questions that we're getting a lot from the realtor community is more affordable housing options. Have any apartment developers or any other developers come to the town to talk about doing any affordable housing projects?
Well, there certainly is an increase in conversation, I will say that, but nothing definitive. It's tough because the market dictates what gets built, and the developers, in order for them to do quote unquote affordable housing, it has to be subsidized somewhere.
Yeah.
And typically it's the federal government that has to subsidize it. Developers are in the business to make money, and just out of the goodness of their heart, they're not going to charge less. They have to be beholden to their shareholders. And so someone has to do the subsidizing, and that's where the issue is.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Curt? No? Okay. All right.
Do you think, Amanda, do you want to discuss?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jenny, for taking the lead here for moderating us. And thank you to Rebecca for filling in when the whole northwest side of Marana lost internet in Avra Valley area. So we adjusted quickly. Thank you guys for working through that with us. And thank you also for just going a few minutes beyond the 9 o'clock. We like to stay on time, so I'll just wrap up quickly and say that on March 30th, we have another luncheon that is a workforce development luncheon with a panel that will be focusing on employer recruitment and retention. So we have an excellent panel lined up for that. Please attend that. It's 11:30 on March 30th. At the Highlands at Dove Mountain, as well as an overview on the workforce in our community by Evelyn Wright at Pima One Stop. So a panel and that expert information from her. So please register. And also our State of the Town is on April 14th, and we are quickly selling out. We're about 3/4 of the way there, and that is not until 2 more months. So please secure your ticket, your sponsorship, and your exhibitor booth if you would like to be a part of that event on April 14th at the Ritz-Carlton. Thank you so much for attending today, and please have a great day.